Hello, crime situents. Welcome back to our second news segment that we are calling News Flash. This is a time for Harley and I to talk about some of the biggest and funnest news stories that have cropped up over the past month, and hopefully we'll make these a little bit more regular going forward, but we're trying our best here.
I think our goal is to release them on months that have a fifth Friday.
Yeah.
That way you're not going a whole 2 weeks without any Crime in Congress content.
Right, I know, because I know your heart is breaking when you can't hear our voices every 2 weeks.
Exactly. The voicemails that are left for me on a Crime in Congress free Friday.
We get so many letters about it.
So
many
We've
letters.
had to open a P.O. box. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah. So if you want to write to us,
we don't have a P.O. box.
Yeah.
But email us at crimeincongress@gmail.com.
Yeah. And we'll respond to you.
Yeah, we will.
No one else is emailing us.
We respond to every email we get.
Yeah.
Because we're excited every time we get
Because we don't get any emails. Yeah.
So send us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, especially if we don't know you.
And especially if you have a case you want us to cover.
Yeah. I've actually had a couple of my friends reach out to me. Well, text me because we're friends and be like, you should do this case. So I have a couple in the queue.
I love it.
From that as well, which is exciting.
And also Newsflash is a lot more relaxed. We don't do deep dive research. We're having fun.
Yeah.
And in the spirit of having fun, I'm sorry if you can hear my computer. That sounds like it's about to launch itself into space. If any of y'all use a Mac, you know that sometimes they can get really hot and really loud, like me. And
really hot and really loud. Yeah. That's how people describe us.
Hot and loud.
Yeah.
I don't know if they mean temperature or physical, but we're gonna go with physical hot.
Yeah.
Like we look hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We look warm.
We look warm. So anyway, if it sounds like we are on a rocket ship to the moon, it's because of my computer. So
what if you just subscribe right now?
Yeah. What if you smash that 5-star button?
Cool.
Let's just see what happens.
Thanks. XOXO.
Gossip Girl. Okay. She's Sarah.
She's Harley.
And we're gaveling in another session of Crime in Congress. So Sarah, what is the first headline that you have for me today?
All right. So I wanted to also preface that for this week's news flash stories, I tried to only bring in stories that have a light overall mood to them. There's so much going on. A lot of people are sad about a lot of different things, and even, I think there's just a lot going on in the world, and I think we could all appreciate just one episode that perhaps is a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
Just all the way around. So.
And also I want to specify that given the nature of mine and Sarah's jobs, we do typically avoid commenting on news of the day. But we are talking in our personal capacities here.
Yes.
Not on behalf of anyone else. And that's also why we might sometimes not pick up on the headlines that you would expect us to pick up on, because we have to be sensitive to our day jobs as well.
Yeah. And we don't get paid to do this. So, again, how about you smash that 5-star button? How about you subscribe? All right. So our first story is from the Daily Mail. Shock twist reveals the real reason Peanut the Squirrel was seized by cops. And this story is by Rachel Bowman.
I've been waiting to talk about this. Do you want to kind of give listeners an overview in case they're unfamiliar?
Sure. Yeah. So I think most of us know what happened with Peanut the Squirrel. Essentially, this guy in New York rehabilitated a squirrel and a raccoon. The squirrel's name is Peanut. And Peanut has become a viral sensation, and I guess what is a month ago now?
I think maybe even 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Let's see. No, a month ago.
A month ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So the New York officials busted into this man's home. His name is Mark Longo. We're going to get into his name a little bit later. they bust into his house and they seized Peanut the squirrel and the raccoon, whose name I can't remember. Doesn't matter.
Fred, I think.
Fred, sorry. I should be more respectful. And wait, well, I do want to note that it was the Department of Environmental Conservation. Those are the officials that busted in.
I'm sorry.
This man's house.
Environmental conservation groups shouldn't have officials with guns? Question mark.
Right? Okay, but anyways, I just want to say that Peanut the squirrel and the raccoon were euthanized in their as they checked for rabies. So that is the whole story in general. I also like to note that I was wondering, so Harley, you thought this happened in a New York City apartment.
I did. I intentionally avoided learning a lot about this because I wanted to have a real-time reaction on the pod. And so I read the article for the first time just a few minutes ago, and I'm more angry now than I was before. They were on 350 acres of their own land.
Yeah.
With a squirrel and a raccoon. Yeah.
And it seems like what happened was that this department, the Chemung, or is it? Sorry, the department, whatever, that department, they were tipped off by a couple of tips being like, hey, this guy is illegally has this squirrel in here.
It didn't bite anyone.
Mind your own business?
Yeah.
Maybe. However, I have a little conspiracy theory, perhaps.
But I just feel like, and maybe I'm jumping the gun here, so pun intended. But this is big government intrusion at its worst.
Yeah.
No one should be able to break into someone's home, take their pet that has done nothing wrong, and then kill the innocent pets just because they didn't have the proper permits.
What I thought was interesting too was that the squirrel has been in this man's house for 7 years.
Yeah, why now? Why this squirrel?
Why this squirrel now? And so the issue was that he didn't have the right permits or license to keep having the squirrel. He had a rehabilitation one, I think, but there wasn't a long-term one that he needed.
Why couldn't they just give him a fine if they really cared that much? Give him a fine, tell him that he has a month to get the proper permit.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it's interesting too that they euthanized.
Yeah.
By with this guy's looking for rabies. If this guy had a squirrel for 7 years, don't you think we would have? Don't you think we would have had a larger rabies outbreak by this point?
Yeah, the squirrel didn't have rabies. I did read somewhere that one of the officers claimed that Peanut bit him, but there was no proof of that. And when he was asked to supply a photo or some sort of proof, he just shut down.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And I'm sorry, I would bite you too if you busted into my home and took me away from my family.
Yeah, and also all these little photos of him, he has a cowboy hat on.
I'm starting to understand the Third Amendment a little bit more when it's you don't have to keep the military in your home. I know it's not connected, but it's making me think maybe we do need to do more to protect our homes from the government. And I'm sounding tinfoil hats on.
I was it's on. Yeah, you're there.
I'm fully there.
I definitely think. Let me say this. I don't think they were right to euthanize Peanut and Fred. I don't think that was cool, and I don't think they needed to do that because I think it was pretty clear that these animals did not have rabies,
and it wasn't their fault.
However, yeah, if you don't have the right permits,
just release them.
Yes, you have the right permits. Okay, I get that, but yeah, But then the question is, who called this in? Which I think...
What motherfucker called?
What son of a bitch?
I need names.
So here... Okay, so this is where the shocking twist gets in. Now, I did not know this originally, but did you know that Mark Longo, the owner of Peanut the Squirrel, also has an OnlyFans account?
I did not. Shockingly, I'm not a frequent visitor of said site. Also, I love that this is our second newsflash and the second in a row where porn's coming up.
Yes.
Just to jump back to his last name for a second, Long O.
Yeah. Well, and I also just I'm so sorry, Mom. You don't listen to this episode. But what I was also going to say was peanut is not spelled like PEA. It's P and then nut.
Oh.
Just
interesting.
He's releasing his peanuts all over the web, you know?
So wait, the squirrel wasn't part of the OnlyFans content.
No. No.
Well, I was about to say, we're getting into a whole other thing here.
Oh, no. No. So, no, but Mark Longo's OnlyFans account is under the handle Squirrel Daddy.
Oh my
which I think goes a step too far for me. Okay. Like, no squirrel was hurt in the making of this film, but I don't need to... Which begs the question to me. Who was watching all... Because, by the way, Peanut the Squirrel's viralness came first. And then Mark Longo's OnlyFans came second. Okay? He was like, let me market the popularity, the fame that I've received from Peanut the Squirrel. And let me now channel that into an OnlyFans.
With his wife, right?
With his wife, yes, correct. And... the lovers of Peanut the Squirrel were like, yeah, I like to see this guy getting on. Like, what's the jump?
Oh my gosh, this is... Okay, I get it from a marketing perspective. You got one thing going for you. It's how famous this squirrel is.
Yeah.
You want to make OnlyFans contents with your wife. Cool. You use that, but... using it to promote is a bit strange, and also nothing is more icky to me than Squirrel Daddy.
Yeah, like just like yeah. No. The image, the vibes I'm getting from Squirrel Daddy is not something that particularly would turn me on.
No, Squirrel Daddy seems like a nickname that would be given to a hot guy who had a squirrel. Like, that's a name someone gives you. It's not something you call yourself. Like, I could see people in his comments being like, "Oh, hey, Squirrel Daddy."
Yeah.
But
he was like, I'm taking it. I'm harnessing it now. Yeah. Okay. So him having OnlyFans, I guess, is part of the twist. However, I think the other part of the twist is I think there are now two running theories, at least in my mind. Because Mark Longo and his fiance have made boku money from this OnlyFans. So much money that they were able to buy this farm, this huge farm. Yeah. This money came from the OnlyFans.
Okay, so they're successful.
They're good at what they do, apparently.
He's given her the long O's.
He's the long O's. Here's a quote from Mark Longo. I think there's an ulterior motive here, and it seems like it has to do with my spicy social media presence, especially since other than taking the animals, they took no action against me. So the theory goes that perhaps someone, maybe it was a neighbor, was pissed off that Mark and his wife are over there recording porn. And so to get back at him or to just like ruin his life a little bit, they're like, you know what? That guy doesn't have the right permits for his squirrel. And you know what? I'm getting him good. So that's the one theory. That
it sounds like a Parks and Rec episode.
Yeah, that it was a disgruntled, right? It was a disgruntled neighbor or someone else who was not into Mark Longo's, I was going to say side hustle, but I think it might be his main hustle now. The other theory is Mark Longo called in the tip himself.
No.
To gain popularity, become a martyr, get more OnlyFans subscribers.
He was allegedly, some are saying, willing to sacrifice Peanut for his porn career.
That's what I'm saying.
Whew.
Now
that's dark.
Now now this is just a theory. This is just a theory, but I would hate to think that he would be willing to kill off his pets on this farm that he has that is supposed to be a rehabilitation center for these woodland creatures.
Mm-hmm.
However, also kind of makes sense.
It really does. You know what? I think based off of how emotional he's been about Peanut, I want to say he couldn't have done that, but also I had never heard of this guy until now.
Mm-hmm. But now you know about him.
Yeah, now I know a lot about him.
Don't look him up on Reddit.
Yeah, or OnlyFans.
Yeah.
I'm going to propose a new law.
Okay.
I think that if you have a pet you're not allowed to have that has not harmed anyone,
Okay.
the rule should be you open the door, and if the pet voluntarily leaves, they have to go back to the wild. And if the pet wants to stay with the owner, it gets to stay.
I'd vote against that.
Why? I think that if they
What are you talking about?
They should have just said, all right, Peanut, door's open. Are you going to go or are you going to stay here? And if Peanut stayed, then it's like Peanut wants to be there.
Okay, let's now put this in perspective for a larger animal.
I said ones that haven't hurt people.
Okay. I have a pet lion. And he hasn't hurt a single soul. He is sweet and he is kind and he is precious. But let me tell you, if I were to open that door, he'd want to go explore outside.
Well, then
do we think my pet lion should be out in the wild? I think he's precious.
Okay. I would be open to an amendment that said this only applies to pets that are native to the area. So if we were in Africa, I would say yes. That I do believe the lion should be allowed to just roam. Because it's a lion.
Okay, let's... Vicious animals native to North
alligators.
America. Right. Boom. Already.
But there's already alligators out there.
Oh! Bears.
Bears are already out in the wild.
Not in a city.
Well, okay, sorry. Major clarification.
Sorry, I'm letting my pet bear wander out in the streets of D.C.
Let me make a big clarification here.
What are you talking about?
I mean, if they choose to leave the house, they are brought to a place in the wild where they would live naturally. I'm not suggesting...
After it's been domesticated, that's a death sentence to my pet.
That's why the pet shouldn't leave.
But he just wants to explore. He just wants to know what's outside. Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean a lack of love. That doesn't mean he doesn't love you.
Maybe we need a time limit on it, where it's like you get a certain amount of time to roam outside.
No, I'm voting against this law. This law is dead in the water. I'm lobbying against it.
You're gonna filibuster my mom.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I believe in a pet's right to choose. Okay? And I think if a pet wants to stay domesticated, that we shouldn't judge them for that decision.
Do you want to try this on any of your animals?
Let's see. One of them would not come back. 2 of them would, though. But I have proper permits.
Yeah. So it doesn't apply to me.
Yeah, it doesn't apply to me. It doesn't apply to any of, the girly pets. The dogs and the cats. My cat would come back. We know this because she got out once when my sister left the door open overnight. And the cat decided to hang out. I mean, rightfully so. Hung out outside for the night.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
But she came back. When we woke up in the morning, she was in the house. So she wants to be here. Now, ironically enough, my one pet that wasn't found in a dumpster is the one who wouldn't come back. Because she doesn't have enough trauma to understand
how good she has it.
Yeah. She would just bolt and die immediately. She would just run straight into traffic. But my 2 that have some trauma, I have too many pets. My 2 that have some trauma, they would wander, but they'd make it back.
Back to mama.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now I know that you are not going to join my pro-choice animal caucus.
Correct. Yeah.
All right.
I don't think I will. Well, it depends on what else. Listen, okay, I might join the pro-choice.
Just to be
animal
opposition?
Caucus. No. I think that I could be behind other initiatives you want. I just don't think I could be whipped to vote for that specifically.
You know what? I'm just gonna dive all in and say yes. I want lions in cities. I want bears in neighborhoods. I think that every pet should get to be wherever they want, always, as long as they return home. I'm just gonna full send it. That's my stance. Take it or leave it.
We're leaving it. Anyways, next. Before we get into our next story, I want to say that for part of our segment on Peanut the Squirrel, Big Government was trying to censor me because my mic stopped recording. So if the audio is a little wonky for part of that, just know that it's not my fault.
Mm-hmm. It's the government.
It's the government's fault. Okay.
Moving on.
All right. So our next story is a little bit sadder, but also kind of relieving.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah. We'll get into it. Okay. This is from CNN. This is the headline. Gates withdraws from Attorney General consideration after Trump told him he didn't have the votes in the Senate. And this is by Eric Bradner, Kristen Holmes, Elena Treen, Lauren Fox, Sarah Ferris, and Annie Grayer.
I'm going to let you kick us off because I have so much to say about this.
Okay.
But I don't want to derail the conversation too early.
Okay.
So where is your head right now?
My head is relieved that some common sense, I suppose, is there, and that it seemed like perhaps that the Senate is being some sort of guardrail against a truly unhinged and crazy nomination. And I think the common sense, at least on some part, is you just don't have the votes, so therefore it's dead in the water, and therefore you're not, withdraw yourself or whatever. But really, I think the common sense should have been like, you're a pedophile and have definitely total moral deficiencies, so therefore maybe you shouldn't also be Attorney General.
Yeah, again, I need to emphasize I'm speaking in my personal capacity here.
Me as well.
What was going on with this nomination? I couldn't stop. You know that scene in Mean Girls when Katie becomes so obsessed with Regina George that she is still speaking about her even though she hates her and doesn't want to, but it's like word vomit. She can't stop. Yeah. That's kind of how I felt about this Matt Gaetz nomination. I could not stop thinking about how horrendous it was.
I couldn't stop reading. And I mean, I think the rest of the world was like that because all the news reports, especially on the Politico Punch Bowl side, right, is all like, what's next? What's going on?
Yeah. This scared me. I'll be honest. I was scared. I thought Trump could not surprise me anymore. I thought the days of Trump being surprising were over because he's so Trump. We know what to expect with him, which is the unexpected. And so while I might not agree with everything that he does, I thought I was done being shocked. And then he nominated Matt Gaetz. Now, this is a perfect example of why we have a constitution with checks and balances, and these checks balanced, and we got where we needed to be. But, I'm still dumbfounded by the whole thing.
Yeah. And I mean, not to, I guess, what's the word? When... speculate. Not to speculate too much, but I wonder if there are so many other behind the scene gears and stuff that were going on. I heard one of my friends was thinking that maybe this was a whole thing of Mike Johnson kind of wanted him out, right? So this nomination is going to be dead in the water. So how about you do that? That gives him a good opportunity to resign, right? We don't have to, this report doesn't have to come out, and then we don't have to expel him and go through that entire process all over again in a new Congress when we really need to hit the ground running, right? So I wonder if that was really what it was, that all along, everyone knew that it wasn't going to go forward, and this was just more of giving Gaetz an out, right?
I do think that there's probably some validity to that, because if you think about it, at the end of the day, Johnson got rid of Gates, Gates got rid of the ethics report, Trump got rid of Gates. Like, everyone got rid of of him and their problem.
Right.
Without anything actually happening. Mm-hmm. So I do think that it's possible. I think it's ridiculous that anyone would be willing to play with our system like that. Mm-hmm. Because what if he could get nominated or confirmed?
Right.
What if he could? Like, it's a risky game to play. But that's another thing that's so brazen about this is you don't have to resign in order to be nominated for Attorney General. He resigned because that ethics report was coming out. Like, point blank.
Yep.
And the fact that he's not going to be running for Congress again, according to his own words, means that he doesn't want this report to ever see the light of day, because he knows that he's involved in human trafficking.
That it's bad, yeah.
And that he slept with a minor.
Yeah. He knows it's bad. And I guess he always brings up, the fact that the DOJ didn't bring charges and stuff. That's just because the DOJ doesn't do anything unless they are 1,000 and million% that they can get him. You know what I mean? A lot of it was having to do with witness testimony and stuff like that. And they just didn't feel like I don't think they felt like they had the whole juice to, use all those resources.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he wasn't guilty. It doesn't mean this is a witch hunt in any single way. I mean, I think it's legit. And I think, to your point, he just was doing everything in his power to make sure that report didn't come out, because he knows how bad it is.
Exactly. And I mean, there's a huge difference between knowing someone did something and proving someone did something. Yeah. I fully believe the DOJ knows he did it. Yeah. It's just, do we have, beyond a reasonable doubt, proof? No. But guess what? The House Ethics Committee is the court of public opinion. Right. And the court of public opinion is firmly against Matt Gaetz. Mm-hmm. He disgusts me. He looks greasy.
He has crazy eyebrows.
Crazy eyebrows. He definitely got filler before the RNC.
1,000%.
And I do feel like at the end of the day, given where we ended up, this is a net positive for the American people, because Gaetz is no longer a member of Congress.
Yes, agree.
And he's unemployed.
Yes.
Now, I'm scared to know what a pedophile does when they're unemployed.
I was just about to say that. I was like, that gives him now a lot more time and a lot more time to get on TV, a lot more time to get up to other nefarious things. Mm-hmm. But yes, at least he is not plunging our government into chaos.
Yeah. Why couldn't... I just wish that we could have gotten rid of him before the whole McCarthy ouster.
I know.
That would have saved people a lot of time and a lot of headaches. But Matt Gaetz he's just a human troll. Mm-hmm. And he's only in it for himself. He's only in it to piss people off. He just likes outrage, and he follows the outrage wherever it leads. I think this guy is just about getting on TV and making as many people angry as possible. That's his whole shtick. And he bullies people.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think good riddance to Matt Gaetz. I'm really glad that he's out of office. Yeah. And I hope he never gets back.
Kudos to these really brave, strong women, though, who testified to the GOJ, who testified to health ethics, had to relive everything all over again in the name of getting this man's ass, even though it's not really a full justice in any way, shape, or form. But I just want to give them their kudos, and even, I mean, kudos is a lightweight term for what I think they did.
Absolutely.
So,
because this he's a kind of a scary dude. Like, they could face retaliation.
Oh, yeah.
And they did it anyway. Mm-hmm. And they also went into it knowing that a lot of people wouldn't believe them, and that no criminal charges would probably ever come of this because it's hard to prove. Yeah. And they did it anyway.
Yep.
So definitely a good point to make there. And also kudos to the senators who held firm. I know that there were at least four Republican senators who said absolutely no. I will never vote for you.
But said absolutely no. And good luck with that.
Yeah. Good luck, babe.
Yeah. Good luck, babe.
I'm very surprised that it died so soon, which does kind of lend credibility to the idea that this was never a serious nomination.
Right.
But the backlash was also probably more than Trump expected.
You think?
I think so.
Interesting.
I think he saw this nomination as similar to a Pete Hegseth. And I don't think he expected the blowback that he got from his own party to be as strong as it was.
Interesting. I think he knew what he was doing. I think he was like, this is going to freak everyone out. Yeah.
It's possible. I'm not going to like die on this hill, but I think that he underestimated how much people believed the allegations that are against Matt Gaetz.
Interesting.
And I think he saw it as allegations that have been made against other people, like Pete Hegseth.
I see.
And I think he was just like, my people will stand by me because they understand that the Department of Justice is weaponized, and Matt Gaetz is one of those victims. And then he's nominated, and everyone's like, whoa.
And this was the one guy they're like, actually, but not him.
Yeah, no, not him. He deserves all the weaponization.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, sure. Not him, though.
No, not him. Fuck Matt Gaetz. Ugh. But and also it's a terrible thing to do to your staff to just like abruptly resign.
Yeah.
Granted, I feel like in order to work in Matt Gaetz's office, you do have to be willing to put up with quite a bit. So I'm sure it didn't come as a total shock, just given how erratic he can be. I'm sure they were like, yeah, eventually something like this was going to happen.
Yeah.
But, man, what a whirlwind. I was very surprised that he resigned. I thought that there was going to be a really nasty Senate confirmation hearing.
When you say resign, you mean withdraw his name?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, because I was like, I was not surprised that he resigned, but I was surprised in how quickly he withdrew his consideration, especially because just days prior, Trump the press had asked Trump, do you have any second thoughts about nominating him or anything like that, and he was like, no. Which of course he's going to say that. He's not going to say yes, to like the press, but it is interesting though. That I think the fall being so fast was what was surprising to me. Again, I thought this was going to be more of a Brett Kavanaugh situation. I thought that was what it was going to be.
It was,
and I'm happy that it's not going to be that.
Yes.
Even if the only good thing that could have come from that again was just to have more exposure to like the things that he did, right? And I still think that my thing is that I understand this idea that we don't want to release the report because that's Pandora's box or whatever to release things on former members. However, it has been done before.
Twice.
Right. So we're not opening Pandora's box. I think it should at least be released to members at least. But I would go as far as say I would like it to be publicly released.
I'm convinced it's going to be leaked. It's going to come out one day. Yeah. I know it is. I'm going to...
For sure one day. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to avoid giving my opinion on that for now, on whether it should be, but I do think that it's going to be leaked. I think we have like a Roe versus Wade Supreme Court decision type thing where it's so big, like too big to keep hidden forever. Yeah. It's going to get out there. Yeah. I'm very curious to see what impacts this has on his personal life. Like, is Ginger going to stay with him? Is he going,
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
I always think they do until they don't. And, like, they are a very online couple.
Then maybe it's a lot of solidarity on the front end, but behind the scenes.
But who knows? I tend to be skeptical of anyone who puts their relationship online too much. Granted, it's hard to say for sure with public figures because they are online a lot, so maybe it's less of a reflection. But the way that she defends him online feels a little disingenuous because I know if my husband were in a similar situation, it would look very different. Like even if I believed him, my defense of him would look very different. Yeah. So I'm just kind of side-eyeing that a little bit. I guess you can call the Matt Gaetz story the rise and fall of a Florida man. That's what we're dealing with here.
The rise and fall of a Florida man.
Yes.
Oh, Matt.
Goodbye.
Do we have anything else to say about Matt Gaetz?
Don't call. Don't text. I'm ready to lock him up and throw away the key.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right, so for our third and final article for today, this article is from NPR News. Headline reads, "Poop on Pelosi's desk, a neo-Nazi tiki torch. Mysterious statues are popping up in D.C." And this is by Rachel Treisman.
We need to put a photo of this on our Instagram so that people can see the poop desk.
Yes. For the listeners who are not aware, essentially right before the election, there were two bronze statues that popped up around DC. One was on the National Mall, and then one was actually right across the street from my office on Pennsylvania Avenue. Fun fact. But I work there.
Well, on Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah, on Pennsylvania Avenue.
I'm really important.
Did you know?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the one that was on the National Mall was a bronze statue of Nancy Pelosi's desk with a giant pile of shit.
Wait, I thought we were done talking about Matt Gaetz.
I mean actual poop.
Wow.
Not real poop. This is all part of the statue.
It looks like the poop emoji.
Yes, and it's huge. It's bigger than the phone that's on the desk.
Much bigger.
Now, no one knows. Well, let me talk about the other statue first. So that statue is there. Each of them only had permits for like a few days, right? But underneath the bronze statue sculpture of Nancy Pelosi's desk with the poop on it, has this nameplate and I'll read what it said. "This memorial honors the brave men and women who broke into the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021 to loot, urinate, and defecate throughout those hallowed halls in order to overturn an election."
Okay.
Yeah.
This gives like a whole new meaning to White House plumbers.
Right.
Do you want to talk about the neo-Nazi torch as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll skip to that one first. Okay. So then a couple of days later, another statue appears. This one is also a bronze statue, but it depicts a fist holding a tiki torch. And the plaque under this one states, "This monument pays tribute to President Donald Trump and the very fine people he boldly stood to defend when they marched in Charlottesville, Virginia."
I have very strong opinions about that because I was in Charlottesville at the time. I was at the University of Virginia when that happened. That's a separate episode. We don't need to get into all of that right now. But gross, disgusting, horrible. There were not very fine people on both sides. And we do not need to have any language or art that even comes close to looking like we could be endorsing Nazis.
Right. Yes.
Point blank.
Agreed.
End of story.
Agree. Yeah. I guess the whole thing with both of these statues is that no one knows exactly who's behind them, and they were only permitted in each spot for a couple of days right before the election.
I love that they got the permits for it, though, and didn't just throw them up there.
No, they have the permits, yeah.
This is not a Peanut the Squirrel situation.
This is not a Peanut the Squirrel, Mark Longo situation. We have the permits, okay? However, they're only a couple of days, but no one knows who really is behind it. And so I guess the question is, I think it's satire.
Oh, you do? Interesting.
I think it's satire.
Okay.
I do. And because, first of all, very fine people on the plaque is in quotes. And then also, I think the pile of poop is too cartoony to be. So I don't know. I go back and forth. Part of me thinks it's satire to like remind DC residents right before they're about to vote that this is what happened on January 6th, 2021. I could also see it being an actual tribute. But I don't know. No matter what, it's supposed to invoke a feeling.
Yes.
For sure. Okay, what do you think, Harley?
I lean against satire. I think that this is legit. I think that what there's elements of it that feel satirical, I think are meant to shock and provoke and draw attention. because, very fine people is a quote. Yeah. So it could be in quotes because they want to remind people like, hey, this was said, but it could also just be literally quoting.
Yeah.
And like, yes, the poop on the desk is comically large. But so we were talking about this a little bit before. I was saying that I thought it'd be funnier if there was just like a little turd on the desk. This is like almost overdone with how large it is.
Yeah.
But it does draw attention. And if you're looking at this photo, which we will put on our socials, the way that it's positioned, it looks like the dome of the Capitol a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
With the way that they're lined up. And so I wondered, too, if maybe that was part of the design, was trying to get that similarity between the Capitol dome and the pile of poop. For, like, just to kind of provoke this message of, like, Pelosi. Well, it could be Pelosi has turned the Capitol to shit, or it could be that the January 6ers turned the Capitol to shit.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm going back and forth.
But I just feel like if your goal was to change the way people were voting, you'd be more explicit about your intentions.
But I don't think, in DC, I don't think there's a need for that.
There is, though, if we're not even sure, though.
Yeah.
Like, we're sitting here like, what do you want us to do with this knowledge?
Wow, that's there, yeah.
I really think that it's just bad art that means exactly what it says it means. And I think that we're trying to pull deeper meaning out of it just to make it make sense.
Interesting.
But I think it's just as simple as someone really likes Nazis and January 6ers and hates Nancy Pelosi.
Interesting. So let me find the company that permitted this. Okay, the group is called Civic Crafted LLC.
Oh, but here's something interesting. The USA Today article by Natalie Alund says satirical poop statue gets permit on National Mall. She's saying it's satire.
So, okay. Then I'm right.
I'm going to see where she gets that from. Okay, but she's just reading this as satire. So there isn't any. She just says the satirical plaque accompanying the statue reads. There's no one has ever come out and said for sure that it is satire. I don't know. I would love for it to be satire, but people hate Nancy Pelosi, and so putting poop on her desk would be appealing to a lot of people.
Yeah, I guess maybe to some tourists. But the people who live in DC, no resident of DC, no matter what side you're on, I think in general, is like that was cool for that January 6th to poop on Nancy Pelosi desk.
Yeah, but the people who love January 6th also aren't really in touch with what people in DC think is cool or like kosher.
Right.
Or cool. Well, I haven't been saying kosher so much today.
I don't know.
I never say that word, and I've said it like 3 times today. I guess one of two things has to be true. Either this art is not meant to be thought about critically and it is exactly what it says it is, or it is this form of protest art that's meant to draw attention to some of the worst moments of Donald Trump's presidency and campaigns, and we're meant to think about it really critically. But if that artist's goal is for this to be satire, I do think they missed the mark a little bit. I think that someone who loves January 6th would feel like, oh yeah, this is a cool statue.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel that way.
I see that. No, I definitely see that. I do just want to read one other headline about this that I just think is hilarious because I didn't even know this was a word. But this is from Roll Call by Justin Papp. Scatological memorial to January 6th turns heads on National Mall. Do you know what the word scatological means?
No.
So scatology is the study of excrement.
Oh.
Poop. Yeah. So I didn't know that was a word, but it makes sense because scat.
Yeah.
But I didn't even think about. I love that terminology, Justin. Keep going with that.
Yeah. The more I talk about it, the more open I am to it being satire. But if it is satire, it's bad art. It doesn't hit the mark.
Yeah.
It's too
I definitely feel that way with the tiki torch one. I give a little bit more, I don't know if grace is the word, but I kind of get the Nancy Pelosi poo on the desk one a little bit more. Poop's funny.
Yes, but I think
but the tiki torch one, I'm like,
but maybe I just spend too much time on X. But I just feel like there is a cohort of people who the whole concept of it being inappropriate to poop on Nancy Pelosi's desk, that this would be an embarrassment, that this would be something bad, is totally lost on them. And that they would love a statue honoring that moment in history.
right.
And so it really just depends on how fringe was the person who put this up. I would love for them to clarify. I feel like the person who did it would want people to know, like, hey, this was pro-Trump or anti-Trump. Like, just give us a direction and we can interpret from there.
Yeah, I agree. Civic, what are they called? Civic Purpose? Civic Crafted LLC. If you're listening to our podcast, which I'm sure you are.
Absolutely.
Please write to us. Let us know. What is the real meaning behind this?
We would love just like a hint.
Yeah.
Just give us a hint.
Just tell me who you voted for.
Like, if
Don't tell me much. Just
send us a red emoji or a blue emoji.
yeah, and that's all you need to do. That's all you need to do, and we can take it from there.
And it can be off the record, just for ourselves, so we can sleep peacefully tonight.
I just need to know.
Yeah, please. All right, Sarah. So this supposed to be mini episode is already pushing 45 minutes.
Uh-oh.
So do we have anything else to say about Gates or Peanut or poop?
I mean, I think the moral of the story is have your permits straight.
Yeah.
whether you have a pet squirrel, whether you're trying to put up a statue, have your permits straight. And I think that's the takeaway for this.
I think that's great advice.
All right. Harley, you want to gavel us out?
Please.